Hello, checking. I had this entire thing prepared. I wrote this like 3 weeks ago. I'm not going to say any of it. I read it this morning and I thought, that's not what I want to say, so I just want to tell you a story. My name's Jann. I'm from Western Canada. I'm so thrilled to be here. It's an absolute pleasure and a privilege, and I got to say, there's no shortage of cakes. I appreciate that. I just appreciate that. I don't know what men would have out. Maybe it would be, I don't know, ribs, burgers, but I really do appreciate the cakes that have been placed very strategically everywhere. I am standing here because of a lot of things, but the simplest thing, and it's really odd, it's strange, but it's good things coming out of bad things. My father was a raging alcoholic. And I lived and still live in rural Alberta, and because he was a raging alcoholic, I spent an inordinate amount of time in my parents' basement. And I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with the Columbia Record Club. I'm still a member. I joined in 1972, and I don't know how to get off of the Columbia Record Club. But I just spend a lot of time in my parents' basement because of my dad's alcoholism. I became a musician very reluctantly. My mom had an old guitar in the corner, and it just sat there for many, many years. She kind of gave up trying to learn. Her life was in chaos. My brother's lives were in chaos. But I had a creative outlet that really changed and saved my life. My older brother was not involved in creativity at all. He was the antithesis to that. He just drank and did drugs, and subsequently, and sadly, he spent the last 30 years of his life in prison for first-degree murder. I say that only because I want to show you the extremes of what creativity and art can do for young people, anybody. It just changes the way you perceive yourself. It changes the way your heart beats. It changes the way you emote. It changes the way you relate to other people. I just played my mom's guitar and wrote songs. Fast forward, 20 years old. I'd been playing guitar my entire life. I had written 300 or 400 songs at this point, some of the worst songs ever written in the world. And I really didn't know what to do with myself. I didn't know whether to go into theater arts. I wasn't academic. I barely graduated high school. In fact, the high school principal of my very, very small country school in Springbank, Alberta, let me graduate if I took like an agriculture course. And I said to him, "What is that?" And he said, "I want you to be on the back of a manure spreader, just literally spreading shit out into the fields." He gave me 3 credits for that, and I graduated high school. I thought that was very creative of him, and it enabled me to kind of go out into the world. So I had no idea what to do, and I'm not unlike a lot of people, a lot of women that have absolutely no idea what they're going to do with their lives, especially coming from a small community. I met a guy, not in the biblical sense. He used to follow me around. I was singing in clubs at this point. I just sang in clubs. And I wasn't really getting anywhere. My parents were very concerned about me. I was drinking all the time, just playing in rock and roll clubs. But I met Neil McGonigal, his name was, and he basically just said, "We can get a record deal." We tried for almost 10 years. I did demos, I played all over Canada, I wrote songs, we went to radio stations, we dropped off materials to all over the world. I had been turned down by every record company in the world for a decade. And I was encroaching my 30th birthday, and I had really sort of given up on the idea that someone like me from Springbank could do something in the arts. But Neil always believed in me. He really was my champion. Good things come out of bad things. The last guy kind of standing as far as someone we could send a demo tape to, his name was Alan Reed. And we sent this cassette. We finally gave up on trying to produce music, like spending all this money with drums and bass and guitars. And we just thought we needed to keep it really simple. And he said, "Jann, just your voice, your guitar. We'll send it to Alan. He's 26 years old. It was 1991. The grunge scene was happening on the West Coast of the United States. It was Nirvana and Pearl Jam, and it was guys with ripped sweaters. And I was just this girl from the prairies singing, really sad songs. And anyway, we sent Alan this tape. He was the head of artist repertoire, which means he was signing bands. And we sent it in good faith, and Alan got the tape, and he had really long hair. His first signing, he was so determined to have it be, a rock and roll band, like somebody that was current and cool and that the kids would like, and that would put him on the map as someone who signed a really cool act. He got into his car, he told Neil, he said, listen, I will listen to this cassette. It was a cassette. And I hated cassettes. My car used to eat my cassette all the time. I would pull it, the tape would come out, and then you're winding it up with your little finger. Anyway, that's my next speech tomorrow, is just about the cassette. But he said, I'm going to listen to the music in the car. He said, that's when I really, really pay so much attention. I promise you, I will listen to Jann's music. And he listened to it. He got through a few songs, and he just thought it was depressing. He thought I was depressing. He didn't think I really looked right to be going into music in the early 90s. Sinead O'Connor had hit the scene. She had revolutionized what that whole landscape looked like. She changed a lot of things for women very quickly. But he phoned Neil and he said, listen, I don't know what to tell you. I think Jann's a pretty good singer. It's a pass. I was 30 years old. I've been trying to get a record deal for 10 years. And, good things do come out of bad things. It wasn't my bad thing. It was Alan's bad thing. The day after he listened to my cassette and turned us down, and I was ready to pack it in, I really was, his fiancée left him. And he was 26. He'd never had his heart broken in his life. He went to visit his parents at the other end of the country, and he sort of licked his wounds for 4, 5, 6 days, and then he came back to work finally. But the wedding had been called off, the caterers, the rented tuxedos. It was a disaster for Alan, kind of a disaster for me, but I really wasn't worried about it. It was devastating, but it was also like, okay, now what do I do? But Alan came back, and coincidentally, he got back into his little car. He turned the car on, and guess whose cassette was still in the car deck? It was mine. The first song that came on, just miraculously from the beginning, was a song called I Just Don't Love You Anymore. You can't make this stuff up. But good things come out of bad things. And creativity is a miraculous thing because it just always picks you up and lifts you over the hard parts. Alan had to go to an actual payphone and call Neil. And he just said, I don't know if Jann will ever sell a record. But he said, I understand what she does. So it wasn't about being the best. I do a lot of things in my life because of the relationship I've had with music all these years, because my dad was an alcoholic. And I do it. I've been with Universal Records and Alan Reed for 33 years now. And I have 17 albums out with them. Yeah. But it's just a moment in time that's just so unbelievable. So when you're in the shit and you feel like nothing is happening, there are things going around you that are just the unseen, amazing things about being a human being. It's never over. It's boundless what you're capable of doing. And, I'm also standing up here because I have failed enormous amounts of time. Epically, I can fail like no one on this planet. And I enjoy it. And at 63 years old, I can fail and still live in a place of peace and calmness because I know I'm just going to keep kicking ass. And I'm going to keep writing music that changes young people's lives. I'm not for club consumption. You will never DJ any of my songs. But I am for personal consumption in somebody's basement suite apartment when they're heartbroken. In a soccer mom's minivan, you can play me. When things aren't going right, I'm your girl. So just remember that. And I appreciate being here. It's been fantastic meeting so many of you. And next year, I think they really should hire me to play in the lobby. So I thank you for your time. Thank you.